Divine, welcome. Today we are going to talk about, let me see what I have on the list. Today we're talking about deja vu, dreams, numbers, and manifestation. All right, so let's get right in. We want to make ourselves cozy for this. Deja vu. Deja vu is one of the first things that we get to let us know something's going on here. Something's going on here. Deja vu keys us into the fact that we were once in one space and now we're in another. We were once in one space and now we're in another. But I was there before. Yeah, you were. You were. You were there before and you already saw it. And then you're there now and you see it again. You're experiencing it. So it is possible to be in more than one place at the same time? Absolutely. That's what flyers do. They go from past to present to future. They lock it all in together and they make sure that the journey is exactly how they desire it to be. So deja vu it's like when you have a vision of something, and it could also appear in a dream, and that's why dreams are within this concept too. It's within this course too. So you have a vision of something, and then the next thing you know, that was way back, okay? And you know, you're like, okay, what was that? And sometimes you note it and sometimes you don't, okay? So it's like, wait, what was that? What was that? And you go on about your life. You forget about it. You go on about your life. The seed has already been planted. It has already been sowed in the ground. You go on about your life. Then all of a sudden, you're somewhere random. It could be the grocery store. It could be in the park that I'm getting. It could be with a friend. It could be with love. It could be with family. And it's like, wait, this already went down before. This already went down before. You may not say it out loud, but you're thinking it. And it kind of knocks you out of the moment for a second. You get out of the present moment for a second. Or do you? No, you're still in the present moment and you're recognizing that this was also a past motion. So I'm in the present moment. This is also a past motion. What is this? How did I already know that this was going to happen? Because you already saw it. You already flew to this moment, saw what it would be, went back. And now you're here in the present moment, living it out. Or you're part of the manifestation, the creation of it. And see, deja vu is one of the first inclinations that we have creative power, that we co-create with the divine, that we manifest the things that are in our life, good or bad. This ties into the law of attraction, but many people are like, how do you get that law to work? How do you get the law of attraction to work, you know? So this kind of taps into it, and we'll go more into that because when I say good and bad, the law of attraction is one of the universal laws. And yes, if you don't get it here, you can Google it wherever. But you can also grab a coursing on the universal laws that you will see somewhere within my catalog. So we can break that down too. But within the law of attraction, there's these two. Many of them go, you know. That's why it'd be good to look into the universal laws. But many of them go hand in hand. But these two specifically, they're like the divine feminine and divine masculine, you know. It's that as one type of situation. which means that cause and effect will allow you to have had an experience within your life that leads to an effect. So it's like, okay, wait a minute. So this was the cause. The cause could be that I had some type of circumstance within my childhood that caused me pain. Or I had something along my earlier years in my early adulthood that caused me a painful experience, okay? So that was the cause, and the effect of that is that I am recreating that same feeling, emotional experience for myself on a repeat. Is what you find when you discover you're a divine being. You understand you have co-creative power, which means that you have to figure out all of those cause and effect ends of it, because the law of attraction, which is that other universal law, is real, which means that you can attract that in which you have that focused attention on. You can manifest those things into your life. Yes, those good things, those love relationships that we desire. You can ruminate on that so much. The world has set for us to have families by implanting it in TV, within commercials, within movies. There's a love story. So that's how we know about the connection of the divine masculine and the divine feminine on the physical plane, not just within one, which you can get understanding of that throughout my book that I wrote, and you'll also find something within here as well. But definitely, it's all about the twin flame journey. So it's kind of like that same similar thing. So yes, you can manifest all of that. And you can also manifest those negative things that you focus in on and that you see and that you harp on. The good thing about this beautiful universe is that we have both. You have both. You have the good stuff and you have the bad stuff. And you get to decide what you are co-creating to manifest. They all grow. They will all grow. It takes you back to the religious concept of the Garden of Eden concept that you hear throughout the religious community that is told, which is in the Garden of Eden, you have the trees, and this will tell you, this one is of the good and bad, and this one is of the truth, you know? So they are all available, and that is the truth. And you get to determine what you co-create. So many who wake up to being the divine, they awaken to their divine being, and they recognize they have that co-creative power, often identified with those first inclinations. And when you think about waking up, it's like that tap, tap, tap. Something's tap, tap, tap. That place that you're in, wake up and come back here. Tap, tap, tap is what happens with deja vu. It's like that subtle tapping that you have the ability to be in two spaces, the spiritual world and the physical world, and that they are connected. Okay, so we get that within that deja vu. We get that within that deja vu, and sometimes within our dreams, and you know, dreams have to have a separate spacing because you have to be able to interpret dreams. So you'll see that. Watch the course catalog for those dream course that comes down, because you have to learn how to interpret dreams, because you can also interpret dreams from that cause and effect space. And you can also interpret your dreams from that consciousness that's developed within that cause and effect space, which means that if you are programmed on that bad stuff, when you start interpreting your dream, you can see it from that same veiling of darkness. Okay? So whenever you awaken to your divine nature and your divine being, you understand that co-creative ability. One of the neat ways that dreams come in is that dreams can come in, and then the very next day or shortly after, if you're one who records your dreams on a log, keep it next to bed. Wake up and put it down as soon as you get it. And you'll notice a common thread. Even if you're developing and interpreting those dreams from a varied consciousness space, having that log will begin to show you, I was here, then I was there. something. I was part of the seedling space, and I was a part of the living, earthly, physical plane space of this. So you go within those dreams, and those dreams you can find out immediately, okay? Because that was one of my beginning inclinations. My beginning inclinations about my divine nature was that, one, I did get deja vu. Of course, I used to get that a lot. But then my dreams began to come alive. And I said, holy balls. My dreams are coming to life about other people, about me, and it was happening within 24 hours. Things were being turned around. So I had to go deep. I had to go deep and fear, because I didn't understand. I knew that I had the ability to know what was going to happen next, but I didn't know that it was a part of training me for manifestation ability. Knowing that you can be a part of the spiritual world, which is the underground, which is the development of the seed underground, and you can also be a part of the harvesting that is living it here on earth. Manifestation is all about sowing seeds and reaping harvest. But you get what you plant. That is why we heal and we clear our consciousness, so that we aren't blocked up by the things in which we do not want to manifest. It's cool beans stuff. Cool beans stuff. You hear me? Where do numbers come into this? Numbers come into this because it was another thing that I received, so I could give some insight on it. Numbers come into this because numbers are something that shows up in the physical world, coming directly from the spiritual world in the present moment now. So numbers are generally your jump. They're your jump from you're either here or you're there, but you can't be in both. You're either asleep and you're catching this, or you're in a deja vu moment and you're catching this, and then you recognize that it goes down in the physical, but you're not here or there. You're not in present moment alignment with the divine. You're not receiving that clear communication dial directly, which means your signal, and when I do that, you can actually even feel the opening of the crown. When you're in that space and you get that direct communication from the divine, and when you get that direct communication from the divine, it starts to come to you slowly. And numbers is a good way. Numbers is, hey, I'm here with you. The spirit, the physical, we're all here as one. Hey, I'm here with you. The spirit, the physical, we're all here as one. You know, and you start getting those numbers, and they'll be 555, 222, 1111, 144. 144 is my big one. Golden Mission 144 is what I am often known by. But you will start to get those numbers: 777, 999, 1616. 888 is the signature number. Infinity. They start to come, and they start to come randomly with no rhyme or reason. And then you are to figure out what's going on, which means that something is here with me in the physical. I didn't go to it and come back. Now it's here with me. What is it? I have a communication going on with something. And I know that I'm seeing these numbers. I know they're coming at these random times when I am called to attention to it. Something is sending me a direct signal, beaming to me, saying that I am communicating with you right now in your world. Yeah. And so those numbers come. And then I remember going on the number chase. And with the number chase, it was like, I want a relationship with you. I want to know why you're here, what you want, what you're saying, what is this about? So the question game begins. You begin to seek out the divine. You seek out the spirit world while you're in the physical world. You are consciously seeking it out. No, nothing makes sense at this point in time, but you know you are getting these numbers, you are seeing them at these particular times, and you want to know what the ham sandwich is this about. So it begins your seeking. So in your present physical life experience here on earth, you begin this spiritual relationship that no one else is involved with, because no one else knows when you're getting these numbers. No one else knows what's going on. No one else knows. So you have this private, intimate, personal relationship with the divine is starting to happen for you. So when you began to have that private relationship with the divine, there are specifics that start to happen. And it's like, well, what are these specifics that start to happen? It gets more and more frequent. Then you're directed to definitions of those numbers. You begin to research them. One of the key places for me to go was Joanne Scribe. So you will receive a link for that within the course. And I began to get the number, whether it's through a license plate, and sometimes license plates will begin to give you direct messages once they know you're paying attention. Once you take the bait and you're in relationship, you get more and more and more communication. So I began to get those numbers, and you'll get these numbers, and then I began to look them up. And the more I would look up the numbers that I would get, I started to learn a language. I started to learn a spiritual language that I hadn't known before, because no one around me talked like that. So no one could teach me a spiritual language. A spiritual language begins to tell you how the spirit world speaks. And you might often find that once you begin to develop that spiritual language and you talk in other places, people are like, what are you talking about? What did you just say? I don't know, it felt good, but, or you cool, or I like you, but it's speaking a little bit weird here. I don't know what you just said. And you're like, how do you not know what I just said? Because you had this long-term, personal, intimate relationship with the spirit world, speaking spirit language. And spirit language is along the lines of, oh, the angels are with you. The angels are with you. Who's that? You have reached this point in life in which you have evolved, and you are beginning to see things a little bit more clearer. Well done. This is confirmation of the way in which you are taking heed of the things that are around you. And you are surrounded by love and light and peace. And happiness is flowing into your life, and that you are taken care of. Taken care of by who? You are taken care of by the spiritual divine beings, and the ascended masters are with you. Who? But you began to chase the numbers because you would get little nuggets in between. And those little nuggets in between will say to you specific things like, your financial well-being is taken care of. Congratulations. Well done. Your well-being. You are to begin to move forward and towards that spiritual divine practice that you are interested in doing, that in which gives you peace and makes you happiness. So what happens is that it feeds your soul. It feeds your soul. So you begin to learn the soul language, okay? And the soul language is your divine nature, because your divine nature is that internal soul being. So you begin to learn the soul language. So when you learn the soul language, you begin to ingest it like you would anything else. If you learned Spanish, if you learned German, if you learned French was really big for me when I was younger. I was just like, I really like French. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I still remember that beginning. I don't know if I'm even saying it right, but I haven't even spoken French in forever. But I really liked French when I was younger. It was one of my elementary languages that I studied. But you began to speak the language. A lot of people within the religious community learned early on that there was a spiritual language, but they didn't understand there was a spiritual language that you could communicate with everybody in spirit. In the physical world, there was only the same thing as deja vu and dreams. You went there, but it didn't come clear here. So the numbers began to pull you in and say, I am in your present world. I am spirit and I'm here. I came to visit. I came to visit you. It's not about you coming to me this time. I'm here. I've always been here. I'm here. I'm connected to you. I've always been here, and I'm always connected to you, because there is nothing that could separate you from the divine. Because the divine is that hosting that has been planted inside of all of us. So it's like, put on that antenna space and know that your divine nature will match the divine that is within the world, okay? So you began to get those numbers. And those numbers are different from that deja vu and those dreams. Dreams are really good. I went through a lot of study with dreams, and that's why I said it has to be a separate thing. I mean, it was school. You hear me? School. I even went somewhere. There was a church, and one of my dearest soul sisters, we both, I remember the whole world got quiet. That was when we looked at each other, and it was like, who are we? But we were just kind of out traveling, and just everything kind of went blank. But we were going to figure out what is with these dreams we keep having. And we were in like this basement of kind of this church that was trying to communicate the meaning of dreams. And it was a lot of rules that was added into it. But it taught us to begin to pay attention. Begin to pay attention to spirit, honor it, write it down, break it down, see if it's in light, see if it's in dark. And that's why I said that we'll do that a little bit separately. So dreams is amazing in that way. It instructs detailed wise, but you still go into that world and then you remember it in your physical waking life. When numbers come, it is the spirit world meeting you to say, hello, I have come. You've invited me now. So I am now here in your world. You've called out to me and you said, come to me. I want to be in relationship with you. I want to accept my divine nature within me. I want to follow the way. Those within the that grew up religious, I want to follow the way of Jesus. You know, and this works with everything. The practices of the Buddha, the practice of, I want that peace, I want that happiness, I want that everlasting joy. So when these numbers start to come into your life, they're to say, we're here. So when they come, it's no longer visiting the spiritual world. It's the spiritual world has now come to be with you. And then it's learning how to align with it, learning how to reside with it. And that is the training. Because when the spiritual world is here, they are here and they rest within you to do what? Anchor in more of the spirit world into the physical. How do they do that? Through your vessel. You become the salt and light of the world. So through your vessel, the spirit world comes through. And you began to manifest many of the divine things here on earth. But before that happens, you have to learn how to stop manifesting the darker things here on earth. Well, how do you stop manifesting the darker things here on earth? You stop manifesting them within your own individual life. And that's why we go through that healing and that growth, so we can clear out our consciousness. So all of those cause and effects that get in the way of the law of attraction, we go in and we slay that, so we don't get caught up into those illusions, and we don't attach to things that do not serve us. So when we co-create that in which will bring us that happiness, that joy, and that peace. How? Because we know it. We know it because we went within, we've learned much about ourselves, and if you've gotten to this video, you are at that space. You've learned much about yourself. Because when you have that relationship that begins with those numbers and those subtle hints and those deja vus and those dreams, you are in that silence. It's between you and you. You learn to trust you. You learn your voice. You learn what is divine. You learn what is not. You learn what lifts you up. You learn what takes you down. You learn to master yourself. You learn to master yourself because you began with those small blockets of energy to let you know that at this point in time, this number just came through. This number came through to tell you about what it is that you're manifesting at this period of time. Whether or not you're on the right track, whether or not you're not. Whether or not you're on the right track, whether or not you're not. What track? Your journey, your divine journey, or whether or not you just got off your divine journey. Why? Because it's a narrow road. It is just like you have learned throughout history. It's not a wide road, it's a narrow road. But not only is it a narrow road, there's not many people on it. It's pretty dabbling dark. You get a few of us spots until you start sparking up and everybody's like, hey, there's another light. And then all of us divine beings come out and we say, hello. Love is here for you. And it's many of us. And we see it and we hear it and we feel it too. But until that happens, you go in and out and on and off your path. You go over there with the wide path of the masses. And then you say, divine, help me. I don't like this life over here. This isn't what I want. This isn't getting me to my goals. This isn't getting me to my dreams. And then the divine sends you different numbers and things of that sort to remind you that there is another way. There is another way. You can live this life from your spiritual nature anchored into the physical world. You do not have to live this life from your physical way of being, because that physical way of being does not give you the fullness of what you need to anchor in a heaven life here on earth. It only gives you the recipe for the lower life here on earth in the physical world, if you know what I mean, okay? So the spiritual world comes in with these inclinations to let you know you're off. Do something to get you back on. We're with you. This is the way. So, and it's almost like a subtle. This is the beginning subtle training, because you go out and something happens and you forget. You forget that you're divine. It happens for years. You can forget you're divine. You go to sleep, and then you have to be awoken right back up as to who you are. Happens all the time. People get lost in the experience. It's part of the journey. What wakes you up? Subtle things like this. That deja vu, those dreams, and those numbers. They come and they wake you up to your divine nature. And you spend that one-on-one time in privacy and silence. Not because you're going crazy. So you can learn that you have a divine nature, and it is indeed a spiritual world that is so fun and magical and spiritual and heavenly space and ethical and morale and peace and happiness and joy. And you have access to it whenever you want, because it's between you and you. That's the clue. No one else. You go through that training period to get you ready to manifest the things from above to here on earth. You learn the spiritual language, then you learn how to align yourself to it. You learn what takes you away from it, and you learn what brings you into it. And while you're in that space, you learn that your things rain into you. And then you learn how to repeat. The same way there was a repeat of the other things that were unwanted by you. And then once that happens, you get more and more and more of your spiritual gifting. Because we only use a small fraction when we've been living out of our carnal, physical nature. Why? Because you can't be trusted with it. Detachment is a requirement in order to always align. And when you are able to detach from anything in the physical, you're able to align with the spirit and always ascend. No matter what you dropped into, you can fly right up out of it and ascend to the heavenly planes of life, the light life. And yes, we are here to go into what might seem to be dark, have that experience, transmute, transform it, light it up, and then we ascend. But nothing is supposed to take us completely down and have us completely off of our path without knowing how to get back. So a lot of these initial nudges that you get, they start to train you. They start to train you along the lines of, we can bring in astrology and astronomy, that there is, and even in the religious plane, there is the light star that is going to guide you home, that is going to guide you back to your divine nature, where it is safe, where it is security, where it is peace. And these things will guide you back. These are your beginning things to know that it is always here and it is always available to you, and nothing can separate you. And understanding that will prevent that detachment piece. That attachment piece, to allow the detachment piece so that you can continue and have some fun flying and co-creating with the divine. Not only the blessed heaven life that you desire here on earth, but also the divine plan for here on earth, the new earth. You are essential in the development. Welcome